Senator Markey.
Thank you so much. This administration's actions are straight out of an authoritarian playbook. We have seen troops being deployed in response to protests, U.S. senators and others being pushed to the ground or arrested for asking questions, the weaponization of federal agencies against political enemies, retaliatory attacks against institutions such as Harvard University, masked ICE agents grabbing students and immigrants off the streets of Massachusetts, Tufts University, Rumesa Ozturk, and then moved to a prison in Louisiana with no charges for a month and a half made against her and others. The intimidation of institutions into silence. We have crossed a dangerous threshold from which we cannot return unless we call out what it is: authoritarianism, dictatorship. So, Attorney General Campbell, I know that you've been fighting this climate of fear and abuse of power that is emanating from the Trump administration towards the state of Massachusetts. So what actions are most concerning to you that you've seen in Massachusetts, Attorney General?
Thank you, Senator. I think I'll lift up two. First, I do think we all are concerned about the birthright case, not only because it is about protecting the rule of law. It is also indicative of an administration that is looking to advance an immigration policy that is targeting babies and unborn babies. In addition to that, I'm reminding folks that it's also broader than just the rule of law and immigration. I can't sit here without the 14th Amendment. I can't vote. I can't run for office sitting in this identity. So I think it's a great case to lift up for those folks who are maybe not paying attention as to what's at stake here. We don't have a functioning economy without the rule of law. We don't have your ability to seek out opportunity without the rule of law. We don't have our ability to have a contract with our government to get the best of government delivered to you without the rule of law. So I think pulling that apart as to what it means and what is the magnitude of it is important. And I've been telling folks, regardless of how you feel about the 14th Amendment, well, pick the amendment that you like, because they can come after that one too. So that, I think, has been most concerning, including in the rhetoric I'm hearing on the ground. The second is everything we're seeing related to ICE. Adrian Raul lifted up earlier what we're seeing, of course, in Illinois, but it's true in California and other places. You mentioned Rumesa. This was a student who was here lawfully, as you know, who was just walking down the street, stopped by some strangers, and I don't encourage folks to look at videos. This one I've been telling folks, look at this video. Walking down the street, she stopped by folks who do not identify themselves, masked, unidentified, with no badges to identify who they are or who they represent. Immediately in the video, you can see the fear that enters her body, and you can't miss it. And instantly, she thinks she's just walking by people who are in her way and essentially saying, like, excuse me, and they grip her. And then they take all of her belongings, put her in handcuffs, and throw her in an unmarked van and take her away. For 24 hours, I, along with many colleagues, including you, Senator, and so many others, used our authority, our power, our relationships to try to find out where she was, and we couldn't. And then we learned, of course, she was moved around and ultimately ended up in Louisiana. We were able to support her immigration lawyer, offering whatever resources we could to get her released. I have spoken to her. She's an amazing, as you know, human being, just amazing with her in terms of her resiliency, but also her ability to sort of support our efforts to help others. But what's tragic is, even while we were fighting the fight, she was detained for months. We had a high school student in Milford, as you know, in Massachusetts, no public safety record whatsoever, similar to Rumesa. Here, just heading to practice, just picked up off the street, teenager, and ICE and local authorities would have you or have us believe that they were doing it all to promote public safety, which is total nonsense. They were doing it to create fear in our communities, and they're continuing to do that. So I am absolutely concerned about what is happening on the streets of Massachusetts. We are doing everything in our power collectively to hold the administration accountable, not just through our litigation efforts to protect due process, but also putting out guidance, and most recently, guidance in Massachusetts we put out on what people should expect in terms of their engagement with ICE, the authority that they have and that they don't. For bystanders, for those being detained. We're helping people access lawyers in real time. Folks get bond, you name it, we're doing our part. But I think it's equally important to name, as we're doing our part to fight this fear and horrific pain that it is causing, it is also at times undermining our ability to advance public safety. Because we had relationships with these law enforcement agencies doing great work to remove guns and drugs off the street, and that work has not slowed down. And now we have federal agencies who are not communicating with us, who are undermining our work, creating fear on the ground. So when our folks do go out to advance public safety, they will be met with distrust. So we're doing everything we can. But I do hope folks continue to mobilize in the streets. It makes a difference. We'll continue to work with you and this incredible body on laws that can be changed to hold ICE accountable in the same ways we can hold our local law enforcement accountable, which is a bit different because our state laws differ than some of the federal laws that govern ICE. Sorry for talking a bit long, but I think that is top of mind for everyone, the rule of law, but also what is happening in our communities with respect to ICE.
Romesa Ozturk was entitled to due process.
That's right.
She was not receiving it. She had a right of First Amendment right of free speech. It was just an op-ed in a college newspaper, and yet they had whisked her away. That's why Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley and Congressman Jim McGovern and I went down to her prison to go in to meet with her to put the spotlight on her, the same way that the ACLU in your office was putting a spotlight on her to get her released. And the same thing is true for Marcelo Gomes, the 17-year-old young man who's an honor student who was arrested by ICE. They thought it was his father, and they knew he wasn't almost immediately, but they kept him behind bars for 6 days without any charges made against him. It's a climate of fear. It's something that we really appreciate you fighting in Massachusetts and being a national leader on. So I thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator.